Welcome, family.
How is everybody doing? We felt like we needed to do another live because it felt like we got off that or do another book club because it felt like that last book club that we did, we just got cut off from it so fast trying to make sure we were ready to interview Ruth, which was that was such a great interview. But
enjoyed her.
So we felt like we needed to do another book club follow-up because we still had some stuff we wanted to say about it, but we felt like we got cut off so bad. And I see a lot of your guys' comments. That was not supposed to be a live, by the way.
That was just a recording.
We were just recording. Interview. We did not click go live. We did not do anything like that. We have no idea how that video was live. We about died when we were finished. Celia still doesn't even know that was a live because we did not know until we were finished.
Yeah, we just thought we were doing a recording.
That is actually not set to drop until next week. So we were doing that interview with her this morning, having no clue that we were live. So I felt really bad because
thank everybody who showed up.
Yeah, and we don't want. I felt bad because I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to think that we were ignoring all their questions. Well, we just had no idea we were even live, because we are a shit show around here. We've been doing this for a year now. Like, we can't keep saying we don't know what we're doing. We just truly
we're still
don't.
Learning though.
Yeah.
Who are we?
Oh yeah. Notes to self. Note to self. Make sure that when you're doing an interview with somebody, you're actually not live on YouTube, even though we had no idea that we were. So I did instantly private the video because it is actually not supposed to be a live. It's supposed to be an actual interview that we're going to drop on Monday of next week.
So you guys got to see.
So anybody who happened to catch that got a sneak peek of our video that's coming out next week. Because Alana said, I lost you guys in the live. It was so great. I don't know what happened, but it's gone. Me too. All of a sudden it quit. Disappointed. Celia is very charming. Isn't she? She's wonderful.
She's amazing.
Yeah. So for anyone who did not know what happened, we're interviewing Celia LeBaron. She's one of the women on Daughters of a Cult, the Hulu documentary that came out a couple of years ago. She's been so supportive of our channel, and her and I have just been able to click really well. I feel like when you are, when you guys are, when you're both from a previous situation like this, sometimes you just resonate with each other. And that's how I feel like her and I have been.
Yeah.
And so I just said to her, hey, do you want to come on our channel sometime? And she said yes. So there you go. Thank goodness it didn't get any of our before chat and then our after chat, because we chatted for half an hour before we actually did the recording of the interview. And
apparently going live.
Which apparently we were live for. And then we chatted for about another half an hour afterwards. So we had no idea. So thank you so much, Kristen Kaufman, for becoming a member of our channel. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, sorry if I look like I'm all bundled up, but Melanie's had this house on cold today.
This jacket,
chilly.
Yeah, our house is now freezing. I'm like, why is it so cold in here? And he's got a coat on, he's got shoes on, socks on, everything. And I have bare feet, no jacket, no nothing. And he's like, it's so hot in here. I had to open up all the windows. What the hell? Yeah.
Now it's in the 60s, so
it's
comfortable.
Yeah. Sherry Allen says, you guys did a great for a live, LOL. I did think it was funny about dropping questions in the comments, but I just rolled with it. Yeah, we honestly had no idea we were live. Yeah. We did not click any buttons that said go live, nothing. So I love it. Oh, dang, I caught it while I was milking my goat. That's funny. Celia was wonderful and is great to see. She really is. She, and I love it too, because there can be a lot of shame and guilt for what your parents have done. You can definitely, we can feel that. I know I have, I know you have. And so for her to still be able to speak out, even though she feels, and when she apologized, I just want, because it did deeply affect our childhoods growing up. I'm like, oh, sweetheart, you owe,
but not in a way.
Yeah, you owe us no apology. Like that was not anything that, anything beyond her control. Nothing that,
She was going through the same thing through her what is it in her cult that we were going through in our cult. So
Yeah. Yeah. Cause, I was 3 years old when Rulin Allred was killed. Corey was 6 years old. We grew up like stewed in the fear of, um, rival gangs almost. That's what it felt like. It was like everybody was cautious. There was men at church with guns over their shoulders all the time. I remember being very little and seeing things like that. And so, to hear from her perspective and our perspective, one of the things that we really appreciated, and now she's the one who hooked us up with Ruth Warrener, the author of The Sound of Gravel, because they are direct cousins. And so, Celia's dad, Ervil, had Ruth Warrener's father killed. He was the actual prophet of the colonial LeBaron down there in Mexico, and Ervil wanted that position, so he had Ruth Warrener's father killed. So, yeah, that's kind of the connection, which is great. But it's interesting to hear different perspectives of it because we grew up with the fear. She grew up on the other opposite side of it. So yeah. So blessed Canadian says, I'm totally here for this shit show. Makes me laugh and I don't feel so inept or inarticulate. Makes you both real and authentic. Well, here you go. Yeah, you're getting it. And both of us were like, oh my gosh, did we say anything in there that we can't edit out? But
yeah,
no.
because we were just talking and like, oh, I'll have to edit it. I made a few notes of just editing names, and so the names are correct and things, but
because closed caption, we have closed captioning while we play so that we can see what it says. And so, yeah, we have to go back and clean up some of the names because they get printed funny.
Yep. But other than that, yep, you're probably going to see the same thing in next Monday, the whole interview.
Yeah,
which will be great.
So for those of you that missed the accidental live, please know that it will be dropping on Monday because this week we'll be releasing the whole thing on the 27 laws of polygamy, 27 rules of polygamy. And so that will be, we dropped the first episode. If you haven't seen that, you can go to our YouTube, while you're on YouTube, you can go to our channel and see that. And then the second half will be coming out tomorrow. So yeah, and then we'll do that one. Mel, did you ever hang out around your mom's family who were outsiders? Yes, we did a lot. We hung out with my mom's family a lot because my mom helped my grandma a lot. My grandma was a professional seamstress, and my mom would go over there and work with her to help with income in the family. And so we were there quite a bit growing up. We spent more time with my mom's family than we did with my dad's family, for sure. Your mom's family lived in Utah, so we didn't.
That's probably why I didn't know you a lot growing up. I hung around mostly with your dad's family. His brothers and sisters is who I knew. And so if you were hanging out with your Gentile side of the family, I was too snooty and righteous to know you back then.
You were, yeah. And mostly it was just because my mom worked. My mom very seldom ever had downtime. She worked and worked and worked and worked. And if she wasn't working to support her children, she was working to support her parents. And so she very seldom ever wasn't doing actual labor, manual labor. I mean, you name it. And she would spend hours and hours and hours. Because she was a professional seamstress, she did a lot of professional draperies for restaurants and stuff like that. So yeah. Yes, Kelly, sorry. I was disappointed. I was watching it and then poof, it was gone. Yeah. Sorry. Once I realized that it had gone live, we literally went through every one of our check marks and nothing was checked saying it should have been live. And I just instantly privated it, and we're going to go through and Callie, mom and dad kicked us out of their room because I privated the live. Oh, yeah. That's funny. Yeah. But we did feel a little rushed through the end of this book. And plus we wanted to get your guys' feedback and how you guys were feeling about the book too. Of course, if you were on our live last week, you saw that, as we were live, Ruth was on our screen. We can see Ruth trying to come into the live and it wasn't working. So we were trying to figure out how to get it to work. And then it just abruptly ended the live. Yeah. So we had to go back in there and restart a new live. And in fact, I still haven't even edited that out because then you can see us at the beginning of that live going, are we working?
Hi, Celia.
Where? Oh yeah, Celia's on here now. Okay, so Celia,
Apparently we're live.
Apparently that whole interview we just did with you was live on YouTube. So a lot of people caught it live. We were unaware that it was live on YouTube. Thank you for joining us for the book club. Celia does have other plans tonight, but she said she was going to try to pop in. But don't worry, I did private the video. We will go through, do whatever we need to do, and we'll drop it again next Monday for everybody to be able to watch.
But a lot of people already watched it. So.
Yeah. Somebody says the good news is no edits need to be made on the live from earlier. No. Yeah, we were really, I mean, I feel like we were, we asked very,
I've just got a list. I'll just edit some names so that they're spelled correctly. But yeah, it was a great interview. We enjoyed it very much. So
yeah. So let's see. So yeah, Celia is amazing. One of the things we did talk about is that how things have come full circle for our families. Yeah. See, even Celia, what? Oh, that is so funny. Yeah. Again, we try to pretend that we're professionals around here, but we don't even pretend anymore because we just know we're not. But it kind of comes full circles that our parents were like bitter rival enemies almost. And then we as the children of these people can come back together and create more unity and harmony and heal some of that separation that was caused. So, yeah. So it's been really amazing to be able to connect with her and, and Anna, her sister Anna.
Yep.
So yeah. So we felt like we wanted to kind of go over some of the parts of the books. Let us know if you guys have questions that you felt like we didn't answer or that we didn't go through last week. This won't be a terribly long book club because I feel like we did cover a good chunk of it, but we want to hear how you guys feel about the book as well. And I also did want to talk about the last chapter of the book, chapter 42, because we didn't even really get to go into that at all. So, what do you?
No, just there were some questions and answers. One of the things that stood out for me is because I have similar is when she went back to the community she was raised in. There's family, there's connection that she's going back to see, but there's also those persons. I mean, her perpetrator was driving around like it was normal, lives there still. And so I find it so interesting that a lot of time these communities, what she kind of explained to me is these communities kind of cover for these perpetrators, and they live maybe in shame, but they live within these communities, safely within those communities. And those who are usually preyed upon are the ones that leave and then go out and come out into the world and try to heal from those traumas. And so it is kind of interesting that then you go back to those communities and here these people are that are still moving through, living in those communities, living safely within those communities where those that were harmed are not aren't being treated safely at all. So.
Right. And that's the part that pisses me off too, to be totally blunt and honest, is it does make me angry because the perpetrators, unfortunately, in most of these groups are just allowed to continue. Yep. Nobody stops them. One of the parts that really frustrated me in this book was when Kathy said to Ruth, why couldn't this have just been kept in our family? And it's like, Ruth, that just infuriated me because I have literally been told these exact words in my life. And Ruth was just like, because you did nothing about it. It had to have been brought out. And that's what's so frustrating to me is that it is the victims who end up, which is great because then they get out of the cults.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's the victims who have to leave in order to find any sort of peace. Yeah. Because these guys are they're allowed to abuse over and over and over. Somebody had said, I was surprised that Matt went back after. The brainwashing is so powerful. It is so powerful. I mean, I left at 21 and went back at 24, honestly, because I thought, God, I left at 21 And then, yeah, so I was gone for a couple of years. And then when I had a baby with a heart condition, I thought that that was God. Maybe if it was any other condition, I wouldn't have thought that. I don't know. But because it was a heart condition, I thought God was punishing me. And I went back and gave it 110% for 2 more years before I'm like, what am I doing? So that part really did surprise me as well. And yet it doesn't, because there are very few men who leave like you and stay out. There's very few. A lot of them do go back, especially the men. So there's coercive control. What are you gonna say?
Well, I've got 2 brothers that are a part of it and 1 sister.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
the odds are ever in favor of, but 36 of the 39 have all left. Have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are guys. So I would say from the sampling of boys and girls within my graduating class, I would say mostly the girls were part of it still.
Yeah.
So,
well, mostly because women have their children and then they can't get out.
Yeah,
because they don't know what to do. They don't have any education. They don't have any way to support themselves or their children, and so then they can't get out.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm trying to think, but there really isn't any of the males that I grew up with that were in my graduating class that are even a part of the AUB anymore. They've all left or been asked to leave. So,
well, and some of my very best friends that were the most judgmental about me when I left have now left too. Yeah, which is crazy. So somebody says that heart condition was assigned to you. It was, but and another question was, if your baby wasn't sick, do you think you would have gone back? Probably not, because I would have been out long enough to say that, to realize that it actually was a cult, but I wasn't out long enough to actually deconstruct anything. And so and again, we've said this before, everything is a sign. And so when we're raised to think, oh, that's a sign, oh, that's a sign, oh, that's a sign, and we justify, and that's what I did. And because it was a heart condition, I was like, oh, God's trying to touch my heart by giving me this baby with this heart, whatever it was at the time. And I remember thinking, now he ended up being just fine. It's actually a very common heart condition in babies, which I was not aware of at the time. It's just where the 4 chambers of the heart don't close together when they're born. And so it causes the body to, all the other organs to have to work harder. And so because that happened with him, his belly swelled up because all of his organs were working so much harder. And he was only a couple weeks old. And so we always called him Buddha because he had this big, huge Buddha belly. And so then we had to monitor him for a few years. I was always worried he would go to an amusement park and have a heart attack or something like that. But everything ended up healing, and he's just fine. He's had 0 complications of that in his lifetime. Nothing.
Well, would that be some of the conditioning from people who are still in it, kind of shaming you into, if you
absolutely
left, yeah.
Oh, 100%.
If you hadn't left, then this would, and then you're starting to question yourself from family members. I mean, that's there's certain questions that I receive from my family that you don't believe even a little bit of what you grew up with. Very little. So I can't believe you're not part of at least some organized religion. I'm not. Sorry.
Right.
So
well, and I took him to the AUB doctors, because there's several doctors in the AUB. And so I took him to an AUB doctor, and the AUB doctor wouldn't tell me what was like. He was like, you need to go home and get your husband, and then you need to come back so that we can have a real conversation. We can't have just the lowly mother here. We need both parents here. And so, he told me, go home, get your husband, have a prayer, and then come back. And that's what I was told. And he's a legitimate doctor. I know I laugh about it now, but he's board certified. Like he went to high school for it. I was going to say that, but he went to college for it. So it's not like I just took him to some naturopath or, something like that, where he's not an actual certified doctor. He was, which scared me even more. So, but it's really hard, because again, I had left. He could tell I had left. I had short sleeves on. I didn't have my garments on. He could tell that I had done all those things. And so my baby was about 6 weeks old, I think, when I took, maybe not even quite that old, probably 3 weeks old. And his belly was just swelling to the point where he was starting to become unrecognizable as an infant. So yeah. Okay, let's see. I absolutely see seeing your baby get sick as a sign. I would think that more men would go back to polygamy and women would find it harder to get out and stay out. I really did. I didn't want to go back, but I did feel that pressure, or that, like, I need to stop being so selfish. I'm making this about me and how hard this life's going to be for me. I need to stop being so selfish. I need to give my life over to the Lord so that he can bless my children and me and whatever. And so I absolutely believe that. Let's see. Random old lady says, if you've known abuse your whole life, somehow it always feels like that's the normal. And for a lot of us that were so severely abused, when you find peace and comfort or peace and quiet in your life, that feels dysregulating. It's like, because you've never had a regulated nervous system and you've always lived in fight or flight, that all of a sudden when you don't have that as a constant in your life, it's like, what's wrong? You're always looking for the next shoe to turn, next shoe to drop. Celia says the information age is helpful to people stuck in those groups, but only if there are people speaking out and telling the truth. Yep. And that's why I love that people like Celia and like that we're able to get together and share our commonalities and share our stories. Let's see. Does the AUB have their own schools? Yes, they do. I was actually certified to teach there. Mary Brown's mom actually helped me go in and get certified to be able to be one of the teachers there. So I didn't graduate high school at the time, but I was certified to homeschool. So
yeah, in the community I grew up in, they did have a community-based school that went from first grade to 8th grade. And then most of the community would send their kids down to Corvallis to the public high school to finish up high school in the public school. It's just my parents were ones that were like, yeah, we're not going to do that. So then we went to what was called Pines High, and we were educated partially through some teachers there and a packet system. And then once you finished up your packet system, then you were encouraged to go down to the county and take your GED test, proving that you were high school equivalent. And so then I got a GED and used it to get my first job. So
yeah.
So just like a high school diploma. So.
For most of us women, we didn't really need, why do you need a high school education? Because you're just going to work at home or you're going to work under the table you'll never develop a career. You're only going to, just do house cleaning for people. You're just, that's it. That's your lot in life, is to never do anything of substance because you are raising children, and that's substantial enough. So
substance that all the women up in the AUB just turned over or just got angry with you, that because their substance is, their job was to create lots of children for the kingdom of God. And that's really what you were encouraged to do. The more children you could have for your husband and for the kingdom, the better. So
yeah.
It's weird.
One thing I wanted,
hopefully that's louder. You guys can hear me better.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to mention in here too is that towards the end of the book, we didn't really talk about Lane having any level of accountability for what he did. Those deaths of the mother and the 2 sons is 100% on him. And yet he's never held accountable for that. At least it doesn't stay so in the book. And then also they start talking about, if you heard in every conversation with Celia earlier, the kids are the ones who typically provide the income. They're the slave labor. They're the ones that, and so in this book, Matt talks about how he is the one who paid for the funeral.
Yeah.
for his mother's funeral, because of course Lane's not going to have any money for something like that. Of course he's not going to, and even if he did, that's the last place he'd put it. What were you going to say?
Well, and just the whole idea that, and yes, I know this is down in Mexico, but they're usually within these communities. Yeah, somebody passes away, it's an accident. She says in here that Lane basically says that he doesn't understand why God took these. So he puts that responsibility on God's shoulder. We don't know why God would take these beautiful
but God
lives,
has a plan
but
for
he
everything.
had a plan for everything type thing. And again, removing any responsibility from himself and placing it upon God's shoulders, that the neglect, the and yes, it was a terrible accident and things like that, but is some responsibility to make sure that some safety measures are taken.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And when you lose a wife and 2 kids and then nobody's held accountable, I mean, yeah, did they go fix the problem afterwards? Was more people at risk down there?
Right.
Things like that. So,
yeah. How were Alejandra's children? I mean, were they safe, or was this property,
yeah,
I know she said for a while the power was never turned back on, that there was a master fail switch type thing that they were able to go turn off. So I'm curious how that ever got resolved. But the fact that Ruth could drive down to the Colonial LeBaron later on and find him just driving through town like no big deal, that part really pissed me off too, because there's literally zero accountability for most of these men. Now, some men are held to account, but typically what happens is they're held to account, and then the family tends to victim blame. If you hadn't have done this, he wouldn't, just like the mother did, where the mother's like, now we have to go out of state to visit him. We have to go. It's going to cost our family more money. It's going to, whatever blame she wanted to give Ruth for not keeping this inside the family, which is just infuriating, because I see this happen all the time, where victims are blamed for speaking out, for daring to try to get any level of justice. Another thing I wanted to mention is that all of the children after the mother died ended up in Marjorie's care, the fourth wife. And it's because Marjorie had a dream that the children were supposed to come and live with her. Again, everything is a sign in these religions. But yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for that super chat, Heather. She says, did or does the state ever check on the children of these communes to make sure they are safe and or educated properly? Not really. Well, I don't think.
Yes and no. There's not much that they can do about it. Even when these guys were up in the States, social services came in because they were left alone. But eventually, social services, they're trained to literally kind of get around it, and a lot of times the kids aren't even interviewed. It's the parents that are interviewed, just like this. And if the parents tell a good enough story, then eventually, I mean, she was on probation for 2 years, and then basically, okay, you're good. You're good to keep taking care of these kids. Well, yes, the state does as much as they can, but
bye, Celia. Much. Thanks for stopping in. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, finish. Sorry.
No, so yes, the state does get called, but in many cases, their hands are tied.
Well, and the children are coached into what to say.
They are.
Again, it goes right back to that fear base. It's like, if you don't say this, they're going to split up our family. We're never going to see you again. And the problem is because you're raised this way, you don't know that it could be better out there, because what your experience is so abusive that you don't know that there's a life where you don't get beat every day. There's a life where you don't get sexually abused every day. There's those lives out there, but people don't know that, because this is all they've ever known, is this small little world. Oh,
yeah, we might be disciplined, but out in the big scary world, they were
your eternal soul's
De-
damned.
devil worshippers that were
Mhm.
sacrificing small children and da 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 da. And you guys should be more scared of that than all we're trying to do is love you with the rod. So
Yeah.
a nice spanking is keeping you guys in line and keeping you safe here within the community.
And
If you were taken out of this community, oh, so much worse,
Yeah.
so much scarier.
And I don't know about if that's still happening today,
Yeah.
because I feel like there's so much more awareness now with social media, with the internet. There's so much more awareness. There just wasn't this kind of awareness when we were younger. I mean, nobody, especially in the AUB, everybody was scared to talk to anybody because of what happened with Rule and Allred when Celia LeBaron killed him. It was like, see, now we have to be even more secretive. Now we have to be
Mhm.
even more closed off. Now you don't let anyone in the world come into you. And so it was even more so. But I know of a lot of families who have been investigated. My
Yeah.
family was included in that when I was younger. But I just feel like kids are so much more intelligent today than we were.
Yeah.
Because there's so much more available to them. But like, if for any of you that have seen Sister Wives, when the Browns first moved to Vegas, they'd basically been homeschooled most of their lives. They'd been to the AUB church school. They were very socially awkward. They did not fit into society well. That's how most of us were. Because we just, if you never know the internet exists, how would you know to go for it for a resource if you're hidden, if all those things are hidden from you?
And I was the older part of our family, and so I didn't know what social services was. I didn't have any clue.
You didn't even know there was such a thing as
I didn't know that.
DCFS.
Yeah, I didn't have a clue that those existed. Now my younger siblings did. I was talking
Yeah.
to my younger sister, and somebody called, and they had to
Yeah, you're
our parents
coached.
had to do the interview, and then they were coached on what to say.
Yeah.
But that was my younger siblings that went through that. I didn't. This was after I had moved away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. So Blessed Canadian, thank you so much for that super chat. It says, as hard as this book was to read, it truly opened my eyes to the harm this cult inflicts and exposed the abuse that you and others filter. I applaud all who are brave enough to leave. The last chapter. Yeah. Again, this is, if you caught the live, this is one of the things Celia and we were talking about, is that it is hard because if we did say a lot of these things directly, A, they're too dark. People don't want to hear it. It's so dark. And then B, there is still family members that we are, not that we want to protect. That's absolutely no, I don't care to protect any predators, but there are still people out there who are victims that don't want things spread or don't want things talked about. And they're true victims in these situations. And so it's a fine line between exposing and then respecting those who are still victims in the situation. So it is, I feel like we're always like shifting that line, trying to be careful of both of them,
trying to tell our story and what we went through,
Mhm.
not necessarily the frustrations that we had growing up in here.
Yeah.
Not necessarily other people's. We'd love to have any other people within our community that wanted to come and tell their story.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah, we want to be careful too. Thank you so much, Paula, for that super chat. Says, we like that you're not professionals. It makes listening to you guys feel more authentic. Gives us more relatable listen and watch, even those of us who can't relate to polygamy. Yeah, thank you. In fact, I was telling Corey this morning, I'm like, I'm in there YouTubing while I'm getting dressed, and I'm YouTubing like how to do proper interviews, how to speak, because our interviews tend to turn more into chats or discussions because I think we all find that we're more alike than we are different.
Exactly.
Even though our whole lives we were told that group is different from us. We're better than that group. We're better than this group. We're better than. And so as we've been talking to more and more people, we're finding that we're a lot more similar than we're not.
Yeah.
I also wanted to pull up this comment right here because this is so true. This book also showed just how hard pregnancies are, also belittled as actual hazard. I'm sure Lane knew that what protection was. Again, we're not allowed to use any sort of contraceptives that could prevent a pregnancy. You always had to, because if God wanted to bless you with a baby, he will. And it's not your job to, that's a condemnational. I just
Yeah.
totally slaughtered that word. That's a condemnable sin. Like, God, you do not use any sort of protection. And so I personally feel like these men kept these women pregnant on purpose so that they can't leave. Where can they go with dozens of children?
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
No, I agree. That was something that was pounded into. These are blessings that God is sending you from heaven. Why would you ever try to stop them from coming? In fact, if you've ever watched Saturday's Warrior, you're shamed. That's how we grew up. These are blessed souls that belong in our family. And why would you ever stop having as many kids as you possibly can? Well,
yeah,
because you're not feeding them. You're not you're
have
not
room
nurturing
for them. Yeah.
You don't even know their names. So maybe stop and get to know the ones that you already had. Get to know their names so that you can call them by name instead of you. So,
hey boy, hey you,
my older brother. So
yeah. Corey just threw out a name there. I want to make sure everyone understands what that is. In the Mormon LDS Latter-day Church of Latter, whatever they want to call themselves, they always change their name. There is a production called Saturday's Warrior. I think there's a couple different of them on YouTube you can take a look at. And basically it's a whole movie shaming people for not bringing more children to earth. And basically, if you have
all the children that
you promised in the pre-existence to bring all of these children, and why aren't you keeping your promise?
And if you said, okay, well, I just had 10 kids, I only promised 10 kids, they're like, oh, did you? What if there's one more or 6 more? Or yeah. You just don't know how many times you promised. So you just don't stop production.
Right.
And until it almost kills you.
Yeah. So yeah, victims get to tell their own stories when they are ready. And that's what I love. Exactly. That's what we were talking about earlier today, is just that it was infuriating me to watch victims come out of these societies and tell their story to people that they feel like are advocates for them. And really, those people are only there to make $1 off of their story. And that was infuriating for me, which is one of the reasons why I started my channel, is because I feel like I get so tired of hearing these people. And we see it too. We know that we're giving content to these bigger creators to just pull from us and make money off of. And if they do it better than we do, great. I guess that's how it is. I don't... we're doing the best we can, but I also feel like they claim to be advocates and they're not. They're really out there to make $1. And that really frustrates me. I don't care if somebody makes $1. Great. Go make your money. Go do however it is you do. But when you scream advocacy for these victims and then you use and abuse them for $1, that's where I had a hard time with it. So, what? Yeah. Thank you, Catherine, for that super chat. Did you ever hear of an instance like Big Love where women secretly use birth control? Absolutely. Also, there must have been some gay or bi folks in the community. Did you hear of this? 100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And we can go into some of that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of them. And it's one of those things you just don't talk about.
Yeah.
Because if you were to talk about it, or if it was to come about that's what was going on, they would be shamed. They would be, it's almost like they are arguing that by you stopping a birth is
you playing God.
Yeah, right along the lines of an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And so the destruction or so the ability of a child coming, you've just stopped the ability of a child coming to earth. So, mm-hmm. And then you will be shamed on that level of doing that.
When I saw that part of Big Love, I was like, oh my God, I laughed so hard because, okay, so after I had my second child, I was 17 when I had my first one. And then I got pregnant with my second one at 18, had her at 19. And I was like, I started to realize just the kind of man I married, right? I'm way too young to understand this. I'm a couple days into 18 or 17 when I get married. I'm too young to understand this. But I can never have any more children with this man. And so I learned the natural methods of, and I even felt guilty about doing that. And so
Mhm.
we never used any form of birth control. I never went on birth control till I was 30, almost 34. And I didn't do it but I even got shamed from people for using the natural method of, abstaining from any level of intimacy. And again, of course, you only are intimate to create children. So if you're not in the process of creating children, don't be intimate. I lived by that rule quite a bit. And so, as I watch Kathy in this book just pop out child after child, here's my question that every time I read in the book that she was pregnant again, I'm like, how in the hell? He's not even there to see her half the time.
Mhm.
He's off
He
in
only
this.
needs to be there once.
Yeah, I know. But if you actually read and study a woman's body and when and how she can actually get pregnant, the chances of a woman getting pregnant are very slim. How in the hell do these men manage to nail it every single time and getting these women pregnant like this? It doesn't make sense to me. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Gotcha. Shades of the Handmaid's Tale. Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I actually watched Big Love and we laughed our butts off. I watched Handmaid's Tale and I had legit PTSD come up for me, where I was crying and I was like, I don't know if I can actually watch this show. It turned out to be one of my favorite series, but it struck so close to home for me that I really struggled to watch it. I still struggle to watch it because, especially, oh gosh, what's her name? The blonde, the main
Okay.
the main girl. The way that she, here she is the one who helps create these laws, and then she
Oh,
falls subject to the penalty of these laws that she's not following.
Yeah. His wife.
And the way that she verbalizes, no, we need to get more people closer to God. That one really did invoke a lot of genuine, true PTSD for me.
Well, and it kind of shows ultimately the levels of what is it when we're brainwashing that, yeah, she gets punished, but even to the point where later on, yeah, I apologize that I did this and this and this, but I am still brainwashed to a certain level within this community, within these teachings. He just did it wrong, or they just did it wrong. But the whole handmaidens thing is right. It's right. So no, it's not. None of it is. But yeah, you're still so brainwashed in that.
Well, and
so
truthfully, I had left the polygamous group. This is why maybe I do understand Matt to some degree. I had left the polygamous group, swore I would never have any more children with this man ever. Didn't go on birth control because I didn't need to, because I wasn't intimate with him enough to ever get pregnant. But then I swear I heard the voice of God tell me to have another child. That's why I had my third child with him. And then it came out right afterwards, all of his extracurricular activities that he was doing. But I took that as a sign that I needed another child, one more child. And I'm so grateful I had that child. I absolutely, Serena.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore that man now. He's 27 and he's the most wonderful human. But that was how I justified it back then. And I used to think, God, this kid's so lucky to even be here, because I was never going to have any more children. Okay. Thank you so much for that super chat, Lupita. It says, thank you for your firsthand accounts. Makes it so powerful and humanizes your stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. That was another thing we were talking about earlier today is it's easy to read a story, or it's easy to see a documentary and go, these people are crazy. What are they doing? Yeah. But it's different to humanize people.
The thing about the Handmaid's Tale again is sometimes I felt like I resignated because where they can't remember the name of the town or wherever they're living, but that was the compound that we were living in a society where outside everybody was didn't have what was inside the compound's best interest. We were growing together as a community. There was just some camaraderie there, where you guys living down here in the world were living in Canada. You know what I mean? Where could be tempted on both sides of it, luxury
Yeah.
and things like that, where we were working to build. And so the show, what is it, Handmaid's Tale, was scary to me, because that's how we really grew up. Yes, they weren't hanging people on the walls and doing stuff like that, but they were shaming people on the walls. They were doing all of those things. That's exactly how the government part
Yeah.
of our community
Gilead.
worked.
Yeah.
Gilead.
Yeah.
There you
Thanks.
go.
When we're live,
Yeah.
our brains will skip and we'll forget. So thank you so much, Catherine Perry, for bringing up Serena Waterford. Yeah, you're right.
So we grew up
so we
in
appreciate
Gilead.
you guys filling in
She grew up in Canada.
It's so true. Well, what I really loved about this book too is I feel like we're hearing all the hard things that she went through, but then we're also seeing some of the heroism come out of here too. So in part of this part of the book, the kids end up going to live with Marjorie, right? And then of course Lane says the most effed up thing to Ruth ever. I really miss your mom, he says with so much sincerity that I nodded to him in sympathy, about to believe that he might be a halfway decent human being. But then he goes on to talk about how good she is in bed and how he misses, because she'll do whatever he wants to pleasure him. And I love that she says, if I hadn't had a child in my arms, I would have slapped him. I whipped around and rushed back towards the house. And then also he wants to take the little 4-year-old on the next work trip with him. And I love, this is again, you can take abuse and take abuse and take abuse. And then there's those 1 or 2 that will stand up and say no more. And I love that Ruth stood up and said, he's like, well, she's my daughter. I'll take her if I want. And Ruth stands up and says, absolutely no, she's my sister. And I was trying not to sob during this book, but this is where my tears would come, because watching her stand up for those that don't have their voice yet, that don't have an ability to speak up for themselves. But it takes that, she says, finally, I can take no more. A wave of rage ripped through me. And feeling those moments, I've had those moments. That is true righteous anger. Not this bullshit that they all want to say is righteous anger to justify their poor behavior. That right there is true righteous anger.
She became the mother bear that her siblings and that herself deserved. Yeah. It's exactly what it is. She embodied a version of a mother that her and her siblings deserved at that point.
Right.
And you beam with pride as you see that change in her as a 15-year-old girl.
And I feel like that's
pretty amazing.
I feel like that's where I wanted to finish book club, is because I feel like I really wanted to emphasize that, because and then she gets told about Luke's abuse, and she says in here, no tears, I said to myself, not right now. She said, I felt hot and full of anger. I was overcome by trembling. When it came to my own abuse, I had always felt dejected, powerless, and completely bottled up. But the moment I realized that my gentle, defenseless, disabled brother had to suffer the same fate, an unfamiliar impulse came over me, a passion so primitive, I couldn't make it go away. I had to act. I had to act on this right now.
Yep.
And those are the moments in this book that I was so grateful that I finished the book, because I don't know, I love to see somebody go through their experiences and then triumph at the end and find that inner strength. I love to watch people experience people finding that inner strength. Not everybody does. And they're not wrong for not doing it. But when you do see someone who does, man, that should be celebrated. Absolutely.
We have been told our whole existence here on earth that you don't know what you're talking about. Sit down, shut up. The more important people are speaking. The leadership is speaking. Those are the people that you should be listening to and not speaking. And I feel like that I embodied a lot of that growing up. Well, it's none of my business. I'm not going to talk about it. And all of a sudden I'm like, no, I'm going to try to be more like her, where I stand up and verbalize when I feel like something is wrong,
Right.
when somebody's been treated wrong. But from birth, we've been told the opposite, that we don't have the right to communicate. We don't have the right to, sorry, burning my throat, to talk, because we don't know, the big people are talking. We don't know what we're talking about. We should just sit and listen.
Okay. And
So,
what's sad about that is because we carry these traumas on for the rest of our
Yeah.
lives. And this is something I've reminded you of
Yeah,
so
over and
often,
over and over
because
again.
I'm like, Corey, you are the authority on this subject. You're the authority in the room. Stop acting like
Yeah.
you don't know what you're talking about, because you do. And that's been a struggle I've watched.
Yeah.
Both of us have, but you mostly, because you were told to sit down and shut up most
Yep.
of your life. And I'm like, and then I watch these stupid people get up and open their mouths, and I'm like, okay, that's where I sit here and go, sorry, I have it so that my children can always call me no matter what. I apologize.
To the point where I spoke out and I was excommunicated for it,
Right.
because I was making too much sense.
Right.
So, yeah. So,
yeah. And so I've had to remind Corey of this often in our relationship, that he is in real estate and a bunch of other stuff. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you're the best man in this room. Thank you, Joanne Dunn, 871. Thanks for becoming a member. We appreciate that so much. Let's see, let me get to a couple of these. Yeah, Lupita says, yes, I wanted to stand up and clap when she became the mama bear. Me too. I mean, I've literally, so much of Ruth's experience I can mirror in my own experience. And I remember having to throw myself on top of my younger siblings to save them at times. I have absolutely had to do that. And I've absolutely had to protect them from being sexually abused and physically abused more than once. I've had to do that. So this book just hit me at a core level, more than I can even say. Catherine Perry says, Mel, I can see just how much you would be able to relate to Ruth. You stood up for your siblings against your father and other wife who hit your siblings, even though she didn't hit her own children. Well, and I mean, there was an abuser in our family, which we haven't really talked that much about. So I won't go into a lot of detail on it yet, because we're still trying to decide how to talk about that. But I was severely essayed by this man, and all of my sisters were put in front of him, and I had to protect them. I had to get to the point where I made up stories if I had to, so that they didn't have to go hug him or touch him or kiss him or do whatever they had to do, whatever they were being forced to do, whatever they were being guilted into doing. And, and I did end up putting him in jail when I was in my early 20s. I ended up putting him in jail, and he did serve jail time. But yeah, it's a hard subject to do. In fact, that leads me right into this quote that I wanted to read. So we're in the final chapter 42. And this is where I'm even so much more impressed with Ruth for finding her voice, because these are the things that we're told. So she says that at her mom's funeral, Lane's sister says to her, haven't you already put Lane through enough? He's not bothering you no more. Come on, Ruthie. You and I both know he could have done a lot worse to you. So why don't you stop being such a brat about it? You should act more Christ-like, like your dad did. He believed in forgiveness, and you should too. And then Lane's own words came back to her, saying, hatred will eat you up inside and take you straight to hell. It gnawed at me. When I thought about what I was doing now, when I thought about what he was doing now to my little brother, I felt like retching. And then the term comes back to her, honor thy father, honor thy mother, be Christ-like, be good in your countenance, count your blessings, do what you're told. Prophets, men, husband, God, vision, dreams, and destruction. Yeah, she realized all those words were just words that held so much power throughout her entire childhood. Words that characterized our way of life, words that had defined me and my siblings, our mom, they meant nothing to me now. So that was a huge, powerful part for me, because so many times I was told, this just needs to stay in our family. Don't let this get outside of the family. Don't let this. And when I spoke up about my abuse, I was asked questions. Are you sure? Are you sure you didn't misinterpret that? And so I'm so proud of her, because there is something that I don't know what it is. It's like you take your own abuse because you maybe feel like you deserve it. I don't know. But then when it comes to your siblings or the people that you have that
Yeah.
instinct to protect, then you know what I mean? Then it's like, wait a second, absolutely no, that will never happen. And so, yeah, this book really, yeah, this definitely, and I did end up putting him in jail, and he did go to jail. And that was one of the things I felt like that really pissed me off about this book is we don't see any of that justice for Lane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you just want to see the guy burn.
Yeah, the community even covered for him. And
Right.
that's where the frustration of growing up in these communities is, for some reason, because the way that the community is set up, in that it is hidden from the outside world, that we are not only told to keep secrets within the family, but within the community type thing, that a lot of these things don't ultimately get taken in front of the government or to the cops. And
Yeah.
if they do, and he is put on probation or something like that, people within the community won't necessarily turn him in when he has violated his parole, where other people would have. So,
yeah, it's so
a safe place.
Unfortunately, this is why there's so much abuse in these communities, is because no one will stand up and do anything, or very few will. And then when you do, you're shamed and you're guilted. And look what you're doing to his life. Look how you're ruining his life. Look what you're, and I didn't do this with my abuser till he was a lot older, and then it was like, you're really going to put an old man in jail? Hell yeah, I am. I didn't put him in jail. He did. He put himself in jail. I didn't do that. I just helped facilitate him getting there. So
you just held him accountable, and then him not wanting to be accountable ended up putting himself in jail.
Right.
Hey, you can't be around young girls or young people anymore.
Right.
So,
right.
Well, I'm still going to do that because government can't tell me what to do. Yeah, they can. And now you're in jail. So, sorry.
Yeah. Heather Parson, thanks for that super chat. She says, where TF was your mother? She was working. And that's honestly, what's so hard about this is that because there's so many mouths to feed and so many homes to provide for, then these women are forced to, they're not nurturing, raising their children, spending time, even knowing their children, because they're too busy working and being pregnant and absolute sheer exhaustion. So by the time they are done working, they come home and they're ready for naps. They're ready for bed because they're just at their point of exhaustion. And so, and no, this is definitely something I've had to work through with my mom. Absolutely. Because I had a lot of blame towards my mom. I thought she knew about it. I thought she was just put me like a lamb to slaughter. And as a small child, I didn't understand that she just genuinely didn't know.
And that's the other frustration I have within these communities, the way that we grow up, is there are mothers that, I mean, with the sister wives, they're looking for a fourth wife, and it actually was Christine's mother that said, hey, you guys can't afford the family that you have right now. Why bring another family or another wife into the thing? And because the family's growing so large, because the man can't do it on his own, the women are out there working too. And truly, you have a group of children that ultimately are raising themselves, unfortunately, a lot of the times.
So. Yeah. And I literally had to protect my younger sisters from this type of abuse. And so, oh, no, you did not offend me, Heather. No, I'm sorry if I offended, but I believe that she knew. Yeah, no, I definitely am not offended by that. It's one of those things where it's like, I feel like there's so much happening and they're so overwhelmed with life as it is. Don't add that one more thing to my plate, because that's just going to tip me over the edge. And that's I feel like a lot of women have a lot of that type of attitude or belief, because it's like, life is so big and so out of control right now. And God God is demanding so much from me. That's one more thing that I cannot handle. One more thing to do. And so they just kind of maybe turned a blind eye to it. Not because they don't care, but because it's survival at that point. They don't know what else to do to survive. And again, this is another reason why I've had more issues with women in this religion than I have men, because of these types of conversations. But yeah, Ruth does find that inner lion in her, and she ends up calling Matt and saying, I highlighted the hell out of the sentence, because she calls Matt and says, you cannot leave us here anymore. I have never spoken more seriously to my brother in my entire life. And then I began to sob. And so for her to be able to do that and then literally have to go back into her childhood home to find papers to get her siblings across the border. Like, when we talked to her one-on-one off camera, I was just telling her, I'm like, I am so inspired by you. Like, where do you find that inner strength when you've literally been beaten down your entire life? Where do you find that? How do you dig deep and find that?
Well, she found people, not only she knew what she wanted to create. She knew she wanted to create safety for her younger siblings. And then what did she say? That it truly is a village that helps.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden she was running into aunts and uncles that she was told she didn't know anything about, because they were from the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
They had left. They were evil. You know what I mean? They were, whatever the terms are, that these kids didn't even know who they were, because they weren't a part of the community that had ultimately let them down and abused them.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden that village gathered around her and helped her take care of her siblings and raise her siblings, basically, right, away from the abusers. So
yeah, abusers are really good at making you think your family knows and doesn't care.
Yeah.
That's exactly. Okay. And I might have mentioned this. Yeah. So Blessed Canadian says, I think you mentioned some of your abuser on Jade and Jeff's podcast and shared some details. Appalling and heartbreaking. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Well, it was actually my grandfather on my mother's side. And so, yeah, it was pretty severe. And it was definitely, and he did go to jail a few times after for it, before he passed. And again, I didn't have anything to do with this man. He didn't get to meet my children. He didn't get to have anything really to do.
I've been with Melanie for 25 years.
26 coming years. Up like next weekend.
Yep. And yeah, I don't ever remember.
Yeah, we went over there one time, but we stayed outside.
Yeah.
And that was it.
But not while we were married.
No, we weren't married at the time.
Married, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as I know, none of our children knew who he was or anything like that.
Nope.
Never even met him. So
Nope. He did not get the pleasure of knowing our children. Yep. I do not believe that there are mothers on earth who don't believe their daughters or sons. They just want plausible deniability. I would 100% agree with this comment. So I absolutely agree. If my child ever came to me and said, even remotely, it's an instant belief. I absolutely believe them. And let's go.
Especially at that young.
Yeah. Especially when they're, yeah.
No.
Yep. So, and then she talks too about going back into her home. I mean, can you imagine going and finding all that? I can't even imagine having to go
the same way of a traumatic day.
Knowing that the last time you saw your mother, looking at her dress, the way she describes the home when she goes back into it is just, I don't know. Then she's just told so much. She's got to forgive him. She's got to forgive him. She's got to go through all, and I'm sorry. I know forgiveness is for yourself. It's not for the other person. And I absolutely believe that. And I've also had to do a lot of work around that, a lot of healing around that. Yeah. And then Marjorie helped him get across the border, which I absolutely loved. I appreciated listening to that. What?
Well, and I don't know if it was in there, but later on she was saying that not only did Marjorie help him get across the border, but the third wife, Susan, I think, helped testify against Lane in court, which ultimately led to the grandma and her or her aunt winning custody for those kids. So kudos to strong, even though there might have been disbelief, but eventually those women go, no, this has to stop. This is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. He's not. I mean, how many times you have to believe that he's not ever going to do this again, and see that it continues to happen, that you're like, okay, this has got to end.
Right. So I love it too, because when we were talking to Ruth, she was talking about, I mean, she didn't have any of her own biological children, but she's talking with the pride of an actual mother, because she did raise her sisters. She raised them as if they were her own children. And it's interesting too, because, we've talked about how we have 2 biological grandchildren and then 2 adoptive children. And the 2 adoptive children are from my little brother, who I have always looked at as not necessarily a son, because he is my brother and we know that, but he's the same age as my oldest son. And so there is a lot of that pride. He did live with us for the longest time, and he came with us on tons of family vacations. Like he looks at Corey as a father. His kids call Corey grandpa. And so I do understand that nurturing these children as if they are your own children, even though they are your siblings. And sometimes that can get messy too, because some of my siblings are straight up assholes to me now about it. Because they're like, you're not my mom. And I'm like, I don't want to be your mom. So
thanks, Catherine. Perry, Mel, if your kids need to speak to you, we can wait. If it was super important, they'd call me. So.
I know. I'm so sorry. I just turned the phone down. I had it on really loud because
if it was an emergency, I would have got a phone call too. So.
Yeah. All on their way home from work. And so when they're on their way home from work, they like to call and just chit chat with me while they're driving, and which I love. And so, so they're just calling to chit chat, I'm sure. But it is true. If mom doesn't answer, they call dad if it's important. So, and I do agree with that plausible denial. I absolutely do. So like right here, I do agree. Yes, I do think they're in denial because the truth is too horrible. So the part that frustrated me about this book is, then why keep having children with this man? That's the part that I find 100% inexcusable. Like in my mom's situation, it wasn't her husband. I don't understand how Kathy could continue to have children with this man.
Yeah, because it doesn't sound like Susan, the third wife, did. She was pregnant when she found out about it, her 2 daughters, but then she left him right after that. So So why is it that some wives would go, this is absolutely not, stop it, and then others would allow it to continue to go on? What's the psyche behind that?
I don't understand that either. I genuinely don't. One of the things that I loved though is that Lane ended up dying of a heart attack and was just by himself on the side of the road somewhere. And I feel like if he didn't get any earthly justice, that at least is something, that he had to die by himself on the same road that her mom did.
That they would travel back and forth.
That they would travel back and forth. So
the same road that she was escaping from them, I think, is what it was.
Yeah. And then I love how she does try to find compassion for her mom. I highlighted this part of it. It says, I think of mom, a woman who wanted nothing more than to be loved, a woman who wanted a life of meaning, a life of lived in service and devotion to something bigger than herself. And then she says, I hope I made you proud, mom. The fact that she could even question that is like, I understand it, but it's wow. So, again, she says that she took years and years of therapy to even feel like she was worthy to find somebody who could love her, because she felt so unworthy of love. And then, she moved out of her grandma's house at 19 years old, taking care of her siblings. And she did everything she could to keep her family together and make sure they were safe. And she says, the memory of those days reminds me of how exhausted I had been, but my siblings gave me life, purpose. They were the bridge from my pain to healing, from my past to my future. So I I'm so glad that I ended up sticking with this book. And that's what I felt like we missed in book club is we didn't get to talk about
The triumph.
yeah, the triumph. Like we talked
Him.
about all the damaging part and all the sad and upset part, but we didn't get to talk about the triumphant where she finds herself not just for herself, but for her siblings too. So, yeah, everyone's worried about my kids. No, I promise they're fine. They're just, yeah, they're definitely on their way home from work and just wanting to chit chat. We've got the one getting married in September this year. So we love to talk wedding stuff whenever she calls me. Never apologize for being available to your children 24/7. That's a true parent. We are too. And it's funny because our kids have really struggled with this YouTube thing because they're like, where are you? You're supposed to answer your phone whenever we call. So yeah. Yeah, somebody says Lane finally got karma. And I agree. I'm so honestly, I was really happy to hear that. I was really happy to hear that he died alone by himself. Let's see. Sadly, there are warrior mothers and weak, selfish mothers. Ruth is a true queen warrior.
Yeah, she is.
And again, we all want our parents' love. We do, no matter who your parents are. I think it's just biologically something we want our parents to, the people who created us, to
be proud of us,
to find that we have value or that we have worth. Like, why would you create me if you didn't think that I was worth anything? So yeah, I love that. Did she say how she met her husband and was it hard to be able to have that trust in him? Was he ever part of the religion? No, she said he wasn't at all. She didn't mention how she met him.
Yes, she did. She said that.
Did she?
Yeah, I think she went to some get together and he showed up there and they were introduced and she basically said she was single and he said she was single. That they agreed to go on a get to know each other later on. So
yeah,
but
she didn't get married till later in her life. I think she was in her mid 30s or something when she got married, which I mean really isn't that later in life. I know. Hello.
Which is my age. So
yeah, you were 31 when we got married. So and then
first time getting married, 31. So
yeah, your first time, and then
the second time was like 47.
Oh my gosh!
So
you're so dumb. Then the very last thing she does acknowledgments, and I highlighted this whole paragraph. I wanted to read it. And she says, and finally, thank you to my mom for blessing me with love, strength, and kindness. I miss you every day, and I would give anything to sit beside you and have a woman-to-woman conversation about this book. I wish I had been able to discuss all of this with you and to understand why you stayed. Now I realize that you did the best that you could. My biggest regret has been not being able to say a proper farewell. I love you, Mom. Thank you. And yeah, I was like, wow, how do you dig and find that inside yourself when those things have happened? And the mother has, I mean, because all of us reading this book really hate that mom, you know, multiple times in the book. I remember at the beginning, I appreciated the way she described her mother. And then towards the end of the book, I'm like, how does she not hate this woman?
Yeah.
We're
duplicates. We're mirrors of our parents, I would say. So there's a lot of attributes that I have to give my parents. Some of the parents that I grew up, my parents, kudos for. Hey, the attributes that I have are because I learned, not necessarily, but I learned what not to do and what to do. and so yeah, even though you're frustrated with stuff that went on, you also have some sort of appreciation for our parents, I guess. And that maybe they didn't know what they were doing the whole time. And maybe they were just as brainwashed as we were. And we just chose something resonated, something changed us harder than it changed them. And so I'm so thankful that I had the experiences I had in my life, like she did, that changed my life to wake myself up from the brainwashing, where sometimes I feel sad that I didn't feel like my parents woke up from that. They still believe wholeheartedly that they will be blessed in the end. So
Yeah. It's interesting too, because one of the things that talking to Ruth about it, I was saying, I obviously, my mom and I have done a ton of healing together, ton of healing around a lot of these issues. But I think the most rage that I ever had for my mom was after I had my first child. And I would like literally kill for this human. And I watched him, and he was just this little, and that's when I had the most rage towards my mom, because I was like, how? I would literally kill somebody for this child. And yet I didn't feel that protected. I didn't feel that nurtured. I didn't feel that loved. I didn't, and so that's, I had to work through a lot of that after I started having my own children. And then I had my first daughter, and I watched, this is when I left the AUB the very first time. I watched this old man, just look at my daughter like she was some piece of meat. And the anger and the rage that I felt towards my mom, like, how on earth could you have just let us be that child? Like, did you really not love us? And so, yeah, I've had to really work through some of those feelings, because she genuinely believed that what she was doing was the right thing. That's what God wanted her to do. She genuinely believed that. And I didn't comprehend that in my brain. I'm like, I would literally take someone's, snip someone out of this world if they hurt my child. And so I didn't. And so where Ruth didn't have her own biological children, even though she did love her siblings, um, I kind of asked her if she felt, and obviously she did feel that kind of nurturing and loving towards her siblings. But I think that's where some of I had felt like I had to start healing all over again, if that makes sense. Oh, what do you think?
Yeah.
Mel, do you think that you would have met Corey if you had stayed out of the AUB the first time that you left? That's when I did meet Corey, actually, was when I left the AUB the first time. My best friend was married to his brother. And he actually did date my ex-husband's little sister for a while, but I didn't know him. He was just a little punk kid that was running around. And I was mature with children, and I was way above dealing with the the younger generation, even though you're older than me. But that was when I actually did meet him, was during that time frame. And yeah, it was fun. And we became friends because I was married with children. He wasn't a concern. I way outwitted him. We would play cards together. I would kick his trash. I way outwitted him and everything. I was way funnier than him. And so he, that's how we became friends. And then when I left my ex-husband, then I actually asked him out, and he was like, "What?" So he was really stunned when I asked him out.
Yeah.
Huh? You had never met somebody who could outwit you the way I could.
You were pretty witty, and you were good at cards, good at games, but you still had a religious stick up your ass.
I so bad did.
And I was the one that pulled that out and put in a stick of humor.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. When I got divorced, I was 25, and I was never going to marry somebody under the age of 40 because they were just too immature. And then I go find this clown at 29. And so, it was, So then I asked him, let's see, Mel, have you done inner child work as part of your healing? Multiple workshops, inner child healings. I've been out to California at Lake Arrowhead. I went out there for
rebirth.
Yeah. We've done some rebirthing processes. I've probably done at least a dozen inner child workshops, one-on-one therapy lessons, one-on-one, to heal that inner child stuff. That's big stuff. Anybody can look at the dark side of themselves and work on healing that. That's not an easy task, but
I like what So Blessed says there. So Blessed Canadian. Yep.
Choosing the option of leaving and burning in hell says it all about this religion. Yeah.
That it feels, hey, it can't get worse than this religion. I would rather leave it and burn in hell, because it can't get worse than the way, it can't be anything different than the way I'm living right now. This seems like hell. So hell would feel to be honest, hell sounded like a step up from living in the community that
And we
were
shouldn't
doing.
laugh
So,
at that because it's
but it
really not,
does.
it's really not funny. It's very tragic for those who are still in it, but yeah, it does. Let's see. Does that involve a lot of drinking spring water if you get rebirth? No, no, it's like a whole process thing. But Corey seems like he's always been an old soul with a wicked sense of humor.
I've got club ears to kind of prove that, because every time I told a good joke with my
Get
parents
smacked.
around, I'd get smacked. Inappropriate young man. So, yeah, a lot of abuse to refine this humor. So,
Oh, and I was always
so well.
I was always extremely quick-witted growing up too, and I always just hung out with boys. I mean, I'm 6'2". I didn't mesh with a lot of girls because I was just I just was I liked guys a lot better because girls were too emotional and too sensitive, and I watched one too many girls in polygamy just undercut and undermine each other. In fact, in these 27 rules for celestial marriage, the women's part, I'm like, as we're reading through it, I'm like, this is exactly why I always have had trust issues with women, why I've always hated women. Not hated, that's a strong word, but shied away from them. And so,
the rules were put in place for a reason. So, because somebody was violating it, it's like they, hey, don't do this. Okay, how do we do that exactly? All right. So,
oh, I get it. Lake Arrowhead. Yes. I
There you
sorry,
go.
that took me
Trying to get.
took me a minute. I'm bragging about how quick-witted I am, and then I can't even understand that. But no, when we first got together, I'm a huge card player. I'm a huge, like, we play games with our children all the time, like all the time. In fact, we even have a scoreboard in our house that when you win, you get to put your name up on the scoreboard, and and it's fun. And so we got along really well that way. And
she's really good at cards. She's really good chess, not so much. Checkers, tic-tac-toe. She's horrible at those. So
you're terrible. No, because Corey cheats at games.
Strategy games, really has a hard time catching on to those. So
there's a whole lot of big talk coming out right here. I don't think so, son. Oh, yeah. Healing inner child is big stuff. It is. And it takes a lot of years to do it. Even when I've done a lot of like, I feel like there's not a therapy out there that I haven't done. I'd be very surprised. I even went as far as to do, what are you laughing at?
Yeah. There isn't anything that you haven't done. Exorcism. Your parents tried the old exorcism part of it. Yeah, they've tried everything on you.
Yeah, I was 15 when that happened. That was fun. But no, I even went as far as doing frog venom. When you do, like, it's kind of like a psychedelic in a way, but it's for healing. And you have frog venom put into little spots on your body, and it's that I want to say is probably the hardest healing that I've ever done. And what was interesting about that is that I was doing a series of them because they work best if you do them in groups of like 3 to 6, right when my dad was made the prophet of the AUB. And so I go in for my session. If any of you have ever seen it, you can Google or you can go on YouTube. There's a gazillion videos on it. And so I go in for my session and I say, she's like, so how are things going? How since your last session, and I'm like, well, my dad just became the prophet of a cult. And she goes, oh shit, today might be interesting then, huh? And so we sat down and did the frog venom, and it does leave scars, unfortunately. So that's kind of the unfortunate part about it. But
it totally changed her life.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible. He thinks
I'm good at dad jokes too.
No. So yeah, that was terrible.
That was horrible. I cannot believe you came up with that.
Cambo. It's called Cambo.
Oh, there you
I'm
go.
sitting here trying to remember the name, and then you throw that dumb dad joke in there and totally yeah, so definitely
my kids would appreciate that joke.
But all of this, honestly, truly, is because I knew that I had to be able to break some of these generational, because I would not sit back and allow a lot of this to happen to my children. And I know that I still could have done so much more, but ever since I was 20, when I very first started on my very first healing experience, I was 20 years old. I just barely turned 20. I had made the option to choose out of life. And I just decided at that point, when that attempt did not go, I decided that I had to heal. I had to start healing, so that, because back then at 19 years, well, I barely had turned 20, I had decided that, again, hell and choosing out was better than what I was living in. And at that point, I just decided it's time. And there's not a year that has gone by that I haven't done multiple things, if not something, every year since then. Because yeah, you just have to when you're raised in a cult. There's just no way around it. So okay, well, let's see.
She's very committed.
What? Oh my God. You're just over here coming up with as many dumb things. Let's see. I lived in Lake Arrowhead for a hot second many, many years ago. Guru Central. Yeah, we stayed next to or maybe it was Heather Locklear's house we stayed in to do the workshop. I can't remember, but I think it was actually next door to Heather. If anyone knows who Heather Locklear is, she was a very famous TV star way back in the day. So yeah, there's a lot of people there, and it was really an awesome program. It was a 7-day program. It was a huge commitment, and I found out about it 2 days before it started. And I made the commitment to go and pulled the funds together and found someone to care for my children and flew out to California for 7 days and figured it out. It was
let her older kids raise the younger ones.
Absolutely not. No. Adam, my oldest, was only gosh, he would have only been 5 at the time. So I had a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old when I did that. But yeah, so I hope you guys found just as much rewarding, or what's the word that I want to say at the end of this book as I did. I'm so glad that I finished it, because if I hadn't finished it, I would have just sat there and been sad that she was abused her whole life and never found that inner strength to pull herself out of it. So I know this is all I'm going to hear for the whole rest of the night is stupid dad jokes about frog venom. But it's a really powerful thing, and it's not for the faint of heart. It is extremely hard healing. So I don't recommend it. Speak to your doctor, do all of those things. I'm not a medical professional. Go do it. Oh, you're going to make me hopping mad. Yes, we have done ayahuasca. We've done ayahuasca. It's a totally separate thing from ayahuasca. Frog venom is.
Yeah, I haven't done.
You haven't done the frog venom.
No.
He watched me go through it, and he was like, I don't know why the hell you'd put yourself through that, but it was not easy. And I did a session of six sessions with her, and you get the frog jokes were lightweight. I'm still reeling from Corey talking about pulling out and putting a stick in Mel. Oh my God. Well, on that note, we've been going for an hour and a half. We only had this scheduled for an hour. We've been doing interviews all day, as some of you clearly saw earlier. So we will drop that video with Celia next Monday. And then we have our second part of our 27 rules of polygamy coming out tomorrow. So watch for that.
So
and
that's going to be how
the women
are supposed to behave.
Yeah. And I think
get along with each other.
If we can make it work, I think we're going to do a live tomorrow as well. Because I like doing lives on Wednesdays or Fridays, but Friday we actually have our Holding Out Help Gala that I will be emceeing, which I'm like not even worried about. I'm totally chill about it. I'm not completely terrified.
De-stressed.
To standing in front of 300 or 400 people and emceeing the whole event. So it's going to be great. That comes up Friday. And again, we do tag Holding Out Help in all of our videos. So if you ever want to help them out. I've also heard good things about ayahuasca, but I've also heard it can make you violently ill.
You have to be committed to the diet beforehand. If they give you a diet, if you're very strict with the diet beforehand, you'll do great. If you eat normal, you won't do so well. It's going to try to purge help you purge all the negative poisons out of your body. And so
Yeah.
if that's all you're consuming, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, all those fun things, yeah, it's going to your body's going to help you eliminate those things very quickly. And so you really do want to be very diligent on the dietary
Yeah.
restrictions that they give you beforehand.
And it's funny, that's Corey's number one concern when we go do ayahuasca. I do not want to
have problems. So
bathroom problems while I'm there. And I'm like, you're not even excited to go heal and go do all of these things. And he's like, no, I just don't want to poop my pants. So neither one of us ever had an experience like that, but we watched a lot of people around us have very hard.
I was very strict with my what we ate beforehand. So
yeah, we both followed that diet very, very carefully, and because we had watched one too many. And again, we are not promoting any type of healing like that. Do your research. There's a million videos out there. Go in and do your research. We are not doctors. We are not professionals in the medical field. These are just some of the things that we have done that we appreciated. So yeah, happy birthday, Lupita. Yeah, find a good therapist that can recommend something to you. So yeah, so watch for the second half of our videos tomorrow, and then we will try to we'll try to go live again tomorrow and just answer general questions. But great job, Ruth Warner. Thank you so much for coming live with us. We really appreciate it.
You're an amazing human being.
Yeah, and again, we'll try to do a poll for our next book. I think we're going to keep it light. We might even just do Becoming Sister Wives, because then we can make fun of them and it'll just be fun, and it won't be like this. Not that I want to make fun of somebody, but this book was a hard read. Oh, I haven't heard anything about my mom lately. This book was a lot harder on her. It was a lot harder for both of us. So she's just kind of taken a seat back up for a little bit.
Well, we're going to see her Friday, probably.
Yeah, this weekend.
The gala. So
yeah. So all right, we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, guys. See ya.